Hello, everybody. It's Renee with Nadiculous, and we are bringing the podcast back. Ta-da! Everybody else is rebooting fashion and rebooting shows and even remixing songs, so why not bring back the podcast, right? I'm excited about bringing Nadiculous back for several reasons. One, I never thought we were fully done when Nadiculous's last season ended. But also I felt like the timing was right for it to end when it did. To give a little bit of context, Nadiculous as a whole, the podcast started because I wanted to start dating again after just kind of being in a couple of bad things, and wanted to bring on my friends to teach me about dating and like, what should I do? Should I get on Tinder? Should I get on blah, blah, blah? Like to totally date it. Like, should I get on OkCupid? What should I do? And at the time, while I might not have shared it, it was maybe a really just horrible time in my life. Like, it was just a lot of just upheaval. There was a lot of change in relationship, both romantic, friendship, my church. I even work was a little bit difficult. And then I had a couple of health things, financial things. I got in this crazy car accident. And there was just a lot that was going on. And Nadiculous at the time was this escape from my life and this 30 minutes a week that I was going to just be able to kind of work through my stuff. And I'm thankful for that time, but I have to say I didn't think toward the end that it was going to be sustainable. I didn't feel like the content was necessarily what I wanted to be known for. It was a lot of, I'm not mad anymore, and I forgive people, and which is all fantastic and all great content, but not necessarily it felt like heartbreak art, because when you start something that's heartbroken, or from a heartbroken place, what ends up happening is everything is always kind of drawn from that place. And I didn't want to always be identified with this horrible season of my life. I really am somebody that, I think if you would have met me at that time and you would know me now, you'd be like, oh, you're completely different than what I know you at, I think. And I feel just a little bit more freer, whole, healed, have a lot of rear view mirror, thank God that happened that way, revelations. And really that time of challenge really was good for my heart. It was really good to be like, yeah, there's a couple of times where you may be too loyal to things you shouldn't have been. And there were a couple of times that you acted like you were okay when you weren't. And it helped me, Nadiculous helped me work on my voice to say oh, I don't like that, or this isn't going to work for me, or things like that, right? So towards the end, it just started feeling a little bit disjointed. And so when everything happened and we had to pull the podcast from Apple, I was almost relieved, because I was like, I don't know, how do you make the transition? How do you it's like on Fresh Prince when they changed the amphibs, how do you tell people hey guys, I was sad before, but I'm good now. This is what I'm going to do. And so I took a couple of years it took a couple of years really from that time. I think probably the time it was really bad was maybe 2017, where it was really, really hard for me, and which is the height of when I was recording. And so, and since that time, I feel like I'm completely different. I have a different job. I live in a different place. My hair is longer. It's actually all my hair, not even bought, all my hair. And was just I'm not going to bring it back. It's fine. I own the name, but it's fine. I'm not going to bring it back. And then started another podcast called The Middle, because I felt okay, well, that, where Nadiculous at the time was this heartbreak space. Then I was working through healing, and there was this middle place where I wasn't it wasn't yucky anymore. It was really starting to feel like I was kind of coming into my own a little bit, my skeleton was getting a little bit stronger. And so I did that, but again, it didn't feel right. Like I felt like it's always been what it's going to be now. And so thought about it before really saying like, okay, am I going to start doing this again? Can I really commit the time to it? And how am I going to do it? And so, really thought about it, really, was like, okay, if I were to produce this, what would it look like? And what would I want it to be? And what would be like my legacy piece of art, right? Totally hella deep, whatever. Anyway, so for me, I think your legacy is what you're kind of like etched in your DNA for. And what I think I'm pretty like known for in like every area of my life is the ability to evolve. And by that, I mean, like, I was never just going to be this like immigrant kid from the east side of San Jose, and that was going to be forever what I was going to be. Like, I was never ever going to always be the girl that worked at Great America. I was never going to always be the girl. Great America is a theme park, by the way, in Northern California that I used to work at. I was never going to be one of those people that's like Paul Blart Mall Cop, you know, where you kind of get stuck somewhere. I've always had this desire to always want to be better, do better, learn better. And so I have found myself over the years in areas where I might not necessarily be traditionally trained or necessarily somebody that you're like, oh yeah, that would be perfect for you. Like when I was in Bible college and I was preaching, like no one ever taught me how to do that. When I became a recruiter and started recruiting, I never had an intention to become a recruiter. I worked in marketing, you know, and prior to that was an admin. And then prior to that was a preacher, you know? And so one of the interesting like slots of my life, or one of the interesting like kind of imprints of my life, is the ability to evolve into the season that I need to be in. And I have had to ask myself, like, well, how did you do that? You know, and could you teach that? Like, and for me, it comes down to becoming a student of your life, and not only like doing some self-study, like going to therapy, right? But also working with like people and asking people for help and saying like, I don't know how to do that. How do I do that? Like, one of the things I really want to do this year is finally learn how to ride a bike. Well, I am going to enroll in classes at REI where they could teach me how to ride a bike. And kind of case in point, I just got an Instant Pot for Christmas. And the thing is like super complicated. Like, and maybe like if you've used your Instant Pot before and you kind of have used it a while, you totally feel comfortable with it. For me, on the other hand, it looks like it's all these like buttons and all these things. And I have no clue. There's no windows to it. I've never pressure cooked anything a day in my life. I have no clue how to use it. And so I have consulted YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. I have people have sent me recipes and been like, okay, this is totally normal. Don't be worried about that. Like, when you've never done something before, it's very daunting. Like, it's very overwhelming. Same thing when I started commuting to San Francisco, which is where I work now. Like, that whole commute used to feel super long because I had no clue where I was going. And which in general, I'm not very directionally savvy anyways. But like, just feeling like it's harder when you don't know. And so I began to ask people, like, what exit do you take when you get off of here? And if it gets blocked up, where do I go? And so I feel like one of the tenets of my ability to succeed in life has been to have the humility to ask questions. And when I don't know something, not to give up and not to be frustrated. I'll be overwhelmed. I'll even be anxious. I will even want to quit up, or quit down, or just quit in general, or just die. I'll want to do all of those things, but I just want to learn, you know? And so what I wanted to do with Nadiculous and bringing it back was ask some questions of people, like the people around me, and say like, hey, teach me something. What can you teach me? And, or here's something I want to learn how to do. Can you teach me how to do it? And and in hopes that the people that listen to want to learn. And so this is your intro to the new kind of program direction for Nadiculous, which is essentially I'm gonna have some people on. Sometimes it'll just be me too. Like researching answers to questions like, how do you do this? One of the podcasts that I just recorded today is with my friend Eric, and he it was really like sitting with him and saying, like, I have no clue how to maintain my car. I literally only go get any maintenance on my car when a light comes on. And so I'm really reactive and not proactive. I only get tires when a tire goes low. I don't necessarily know when to do that. I don't know when to change my windshield wipers. I don't know any of those things. And so my friend Eric has been working on cars his whole life. So I was like, let me just ask him some questions about how do you know this? And it was a completely like eye-opening conversation. Like, okay. And so now I feel more empowered not to get screwed over at the Pep Boys when I go over there. And now I feel like saying like, hey, is this true? Like, does this really cost $300? And so I feel like if we can empower each other with information, then we can be more powerful, right? Duh, empowered. Anyways, so that's essentially what I want to do is really ask some questions. Like, I have a couple of guests slated through the next couple of weeks. One of them is my friend that is like, how do you create a personal style? Like, what is it? Like, if I could only buy 6 things, what would I buy? Another one is I have a really good girlfriend that's really good at throwing parties. Like, everything is a party, and she's really good at parties. I am not. I am horrible at parties. Like, I can make it happen, but I'm overthinking it the whole time, and I get really caught up in, is everybody having a good time? And she's really good at knowing who to invite, knowing how to set up a photo booth, knowing how to do those things. And then I also have a girlfriend that just opened her own business, and like, what has been involved with that? Like, how did you do that? And so I'm learning all of that, and just really asking some questions, and hopefully that they're questions that help you. Each guest will get asked like the same 4 questions every time at the beginning, which is 1, what is your McDonald's order? 2, if you had a soundtrack to your life, what are 3 songs that would be on that soundtrack? There's I'm not looking at my notes right now, but there's like 4 different questions. And what are you most proud of professionally and personally? And the final one is, in our time together, have you learned anything from me, and what is it? And so, like, have you learned anything from me, Renee? And what is it? Like, what have I taught you? Because I also want to make sure that I'm self-aware about what I'm teaching the world. Like, I'm over here thinking like, oh, people want to like ask questions and blah, blah, blah. And so hearing all of that and learning all of that. And so, I also think kind of the major lesson in rebooting Nadiculous is a lesson on resilience, is that being sure of your own personal voice and being sure of what you're called on this earth to do, and not stopping because you hit a snag, and not stopping because someone doesn't like it, and not stopping because you're not getting all the reviews you want on iTunes. None of that, but really staying true to yourself, because that's been a major thing for me. I feel like, especially in this past year, that I'm really having to be like, confront and be in the face of, is like, Renee, like, stand up for yourself, like, and not stand up for yourself in a confrontational way, but like, stand up for yourself and know who you are and pursue that with all that you have. And in that, like, all that you are is like generosity and kindness and love and all of that, right? But also pursue your identity. And like, I think people get that caught up in like, oh, your identity should be in God, which I agree. But there's also aspects of your identity that are like imprinted on your DNA that are only yours, and having to learn those things and own those things. And like, one of the things that I really want to do in just this next half of my life is own my flaws. Like, okay, that's a flaw of mine. Like, but here are all my strengths, and lean on the strengths, and then store up your weaknesses, meaning like, I'm never going to be the person and I try really, that's gonna be on time. Like, I get caught up in whatever, and I'm really bad at time management. Now I've gotten better. I set alarms for myself and I do things like that. But like if I'm meeting you at a party and the party starts at 7, I'll probably get there at 7:30, especially if I have to put makeup on and stuff. I will get caught up in the nuance of getting ready. And so it's just, my friends even know that. And I've gotten better. I'm not like super ridiculous about it, but so I have learned to store up my weaknesses and be like, oh, that starts at 7. You're going to get there at 6:30, you know? And so little things like that, like I can't change myself, but what I can do is manage my weakness. And so in doing that, learning that within these conversations, and hoping that they help you as well. And one of the things I also want to be mindful of is not worrying about whether or not people like it or not. Like, I want to be sure of what I'm creating. And if it's just for me, that's enough. But I believe that it could be for others. I believe that this is an amazing platform to be able to learn things that maybe I didn't have a dad. So learning how to maintain my car, no one ever taught me that. And even people that did have dads, but maybe aren't mechanically inclined, like no one ever taught you that. So let's learn. In this day and age, with this level of technology, with this level of being able to reach out to people and communicate with people via social media, there's no reason why anybody ever needs to be ignorant. You know, I want to bring on someone for budgeting, and I want to bring on someone for like credit repair. Like, there's things that I have not faced in my life because I am dumb about them, and I don't want to be dumb. Like, I almost want that to be the tagline. Don't be dumb, period. Don't be dumb, get educated. And so I'm sure that's probably not going to fly, but I need some retweaking. But that's Nadiculous. That's what to expect in this next season of Nadiculous. Now available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and also there'll be some videos on YouTube under Nadiculous. And so feel free to like, follow, subscribe. And also send in your questions about things you want to learn. Like, what would you like to learn? How can we help you? Like, is it meal prepping? Is it whatever? I'm learning all those things right now too. And so wanting to be able to learn those along with you, and let's learn together. Let's not be dumb together. And, I'm excited, and it's nice to be excited. I'm recording this on YouTube as well. And I'm realizing that one set of my eyelashes is hella full and the other one isn't. And I might need to get those done again. Anyway, this is Nadiculous, and I am your host, Renee Sagan, and I am excited to go along the journey with you. Talk to you guys later.